Everyone's using Kindle Direct Publishing these days, especially when it comes to self-publishing, but you probably aren't aware of this. Amazon KDP doesn't take too kindly to you publishing your works away from their platform. Now, this might sound like the controlling boyfriend or some kind of a toxic relationship, and it really isn't, but they certainly let you know in mild ways that they don't want you publishing beyond their platform when you're using them. I'm going to talk about more of that in today's podcast, so stay tuned. What's happening? It's Dale here, and I'm just tickled to death. You took a little bit of time out your day to spend a little bit of time with me to talk about my favorite thing in self-publishing. And before we get into things, I want to give a big shout out to a friend and fellow follower here in the self-publishing community, Debbie. She just launched a new service called getbooksreviewed.com. Now, let's not make this no qualms about this. This is not a sponsorship. This is not an endorsement on my behalf. This is just kind of a favor of a friend of mine that we go ahead and share this with you. So if you're looking for ways to get more book reviews, then this is probably the platform for you. And you can actually try it for free when you go visit that link of getbooksreviewed.com, and let me know what your experience is like with that, because I'm just kind of curious. I don't know that it's going to be a good fit for me, because you have to actually read books in order to get tokens that you redeem those tokens to get your book reviewed. Pretty cool, right? Alrighty, so let's get to the matter at hand. The very first thing we've got to address, especially if you're kind of new to things in this whole self-publishing world, let's talk about what is publishing wide. You might hear publishing wide a lot, and it typically revolves around Amazon. Why? Because everyone's publishing to Kindle Direct Publishing, and typically their ebooks are kept exclusive there, and in some instances they just keep the print books in KDP because they don't feel like uploading to other platforms. But I'm hoping I can convince you to do something otherwise by the end of today's podcast. So you're essentially going beyond Amazon's individual distribution, because Kindle Direct Publishing distributes both ebooks and print books. We're going to put a pin in audiobooks for another broadcast. I've talked about ACX in depth over the past few months. You can always refer to one of those episodes. The big thing is you've got a lot of different avenues, and many readers go to many different places. The first ones you need to focus on is the big four Amazon alternatives. That is Apple Books, Barnes & Noble Press, Kobo, and it's also called Kobo Writing Life if you ever want to kind of Google that up. Speaking of Google, Google Play Books. So those are the big four alternatives that essentially are the competition to Amazon. And you've got other avenues, like you can look at aggregate publishers like Ingram Spark, Lulu, Drafted Digital, Smashwords, and such. But I'm thinking of, the big four initially, and then we can toss in the aggregate publishers as well. There are scores of print-on-demand book distributors, and this is the part that always makes me sad when I see someone has published through KDP with their print book, but then they just stop. They're like, well, that's good enough. I get onto Amazon's platform. Well, believe it or not, you can get into other platforms. Places like Ingram Spark will put you into brick and mortar stores, or give you that option at least. With Lulu, you have the Lulu Express Shopify integration and API integration that you can make sales from your own website, and you keep 100% of the royalties. So that's kind of a nice thing. So what's this whole conspiracy that I'm getting on about here? How Kindle Direct Publishing doesn't want you to publish wide? It would seem like they would be okay. Well, I've always said this. Amazon's not your friend, all right? They are just merely a faucet that you can be able to get your books onto. Don't think for a minute that if you're pulling $1 or even $1,000 or $10,000 or $100,000 per month, that they're going to be shutting you down if for whatever reason they decide, he looked at me wrong, or I don't publish Werebear Shapeshifter romance books, delete, and then boot people on out. So the thing is, now we get this out of the way. Amazon's not your friend. Now, I'm not saying they're your enemy. They can be your enemy, but in most instances, they're not going to be sitting down and having a cup of coffee with you, kind of chatting about the old days. They just want to know that you're putting out good quality work that's going to be selling and you be making some money is just an ancillary byproduct of what you're doing. They want to make sure they're making the money. So with that being said, I've got 5 solid reasons how Kindle Direct Publishing doesn't want you to publish wide. They don't want you to publish beyond Amazon. And reason number 1 is the most obvious one, KDP Select. Now, if you're not familiar with KDP Select, it is an ebook exclusivity agreement, meaning that when you enroll your ebook that's published on KDP to the platform, you are agreeing to stay exclusive to their platform. Now, you're probably saying, well, that's not a big deal, Dale. I could just deselect KDP Select and I can go ahead and go wide. That's fine. Yeah, that's actually one of the things I'm leaning towards. But the thing is, they entice authors like you and me with a few extra marketing and promotion perks. Some things that are going to get your book in front of more readers. And one of the things I always talk about is what's called the unfair advantage on my behalf. Essentially, when you enroll your KDP Select book, all right, it goes into what's called the Kindle Unlimited program. And people that are subscribed to that program through Amazon check out your title. There's 2 things that happen. When they check out your title, it is registered as a sale. That's crazy, right? This means, and as I've shared before, that you can become an Amazon best-selling author without selling a single stinking copy. I know, crazy, right? Craziness doesn't end there. You obviously, when someone checks it out, they start reading it, you get paid per page that's read. So it makes the deal a little bit better. So they're like, we'll increase your ABSR, your Amazon bestseller rank, which means that you will be more discoverable and serve to more readers and then hopefully make more sales. Not in KDP Select? Oh, well. That's their essential response. Oh, well. You're on your own. You go ahead and you can publish it wherever you want to. We don't care, but we're not going to give you the same perks we give to the people that want to stay exclusive and loyal to us. Reason number 2, we're going to go right back into the KDP Select whale. KDP Select distribution mistakes. So this is the part. If you do publish wide with your ebook, pay very close attention. So let's start it out. Let's say you have gone and enrolled your book in KDP Select, and it's an agreement that lasts for 90 days at a time and is automatically renewed unless you deselect it inside your KDP dashboard. Okay, let's say you deselect it. You fulfill your 90-day obligation and you decide to publish everywhere. What happens if you go, I really like KDP Select, I want to go back into it? That means you've got to delist your ebook on all those other sites that you've done away from Amazon, and you must wait for it to be fully removed before you opt that back into KDP Select. In fact, there was a nightmare story by a fellow YouTuber and a really cool guy, Derek Murphy. Look him up. Fantastic YouTube channel. He has a lot of great insights, and he shared one time that he had made the mistake of coming back to the comforts of KDP Select. Sure, he delisted all of his different avenues, but herein lies the problem. He missed one tiny distributor. And it didn't take them long before they detected that in their system, and they were like, slap the hand. And I think it came as severe as he might have got his account suspended and the ability to use KDP Select pretty much up in the air. And I think everything got ironed out. Derek's doing better, but either way, it created a scary situation in which he thought he was going to lose his account. He just lost the ability to use KDP Select for a temporary amount of time. Always double check when going back to KDP Select. Why? Because when they want you exclusive, there's no ands, ifs, or buts. They've got different bots or someone that crawls the internet that looks for discrepancies of a KDP Select enrolled ebook that's available other places. Because they're like, no, you need to be 100% loyal to us or don't be in the program whatsoever. So it's an all or nothing thing when it comes to ebooks. Now, just don't make the mistake. When you enroll to KDP Select, it is only for that ebook. It doesn't address it doesn't even cover the print book or the audiobook. So you roll that in KDP Select for that ebook. Print book, audiobook, completely separate. distribution rights. So don't ever get freaked out and go, oh man, I do KDP Select, but I'm scared I won't be able to put my print book elsewhere or my audiobook elsewhere. Yes, you will. It's completely separate rights. And it also, when you enroll one ebook in KDP Select, it does not affect the other ebooks that you publish unless you have them enrolled in KDP Select. That makes sense, hopefully. Reason number 3, the price match policy. Now, this is one of those ones that just gets me scratching my head here. Amazon likes to price match. If they see your title is marked down elsewhere, they will price match it. They're not actively crawling websites for ebooks at lower price points of yours. They do it more for the print books. I've seen them do print books, and especially if it's made through expanded distribution, they will, of course, price match on something like this. But let's look at the fact that they do not want you publishing a book below 99 cents. Literally, you cannot put out an ebook lower than 99 cents through your KDP dashboard. Why is that? It's a crazy idea, but I don't know, maybe someone just wants to make it available for free for whatever reason. It could be to build their email list, to build awareness, to leverage a platform, to get more readers. You've got platforms like Apple who gets it. They allow you to publish for free. So with that being said, Amazon will price match your ebook only if you provide that information to them. In other words, give them links. Tell them the 411. Okay, all right, it's available on Apple UK, Apple US at free. Okay, so we'll go ahead and price match it, but we're going to leave it up to our discretion because they typically send you an email back in response. So the print books, it's all automated. You don't ever have to ask. So if you happen to be distributing through, let's say, for instance, Ingram Spark, and you put the price of your book at $8.99, but over on Amazon, you have it priced at $14.99, and they see that you're distributing at $8.99. They're going to mark that down. They're going to put a price mark through for that and drop that down until otherwise in the other avenues it increases, and at that point, they'll remove that price match. Ebooks, you have to, the burden's on you to give them the proof, and then they'll typically send you a boilerplate response of, yeah, we determine if that's going to be okay. I love it. It's kind of almost like a power move. They're almost like, yeah, we'll decide. And they're like begrudgingly just moving down your price to zero. So, and there you go. I would think they would make life a lot easier if they would allow for the free option for authors because, I don't know, they don't want people to publish wide. Probably one of the best ways to do it is make something available that they don't otherwise have available and other platforms do. I challenge Amazon. You hear me? I challenge you, Amazon KDP, to get it to where you are in alignment with those like Apple and Google, to where it's 70% royalty regardless of pricing instead of this trash structure of pricing your ebook between $2.99 and $9.99. I've gone on and on about that one. We'll save that discussion for another day. Reason number 4, I'm going to use quotations here. Freely available online. Now, let's just say, for instance, you're a blogger. And for whatever reason, you decide you want to take that blog and repurpose it into a full-length book. That's fine. But you've got that available freely online. KDP gets a little salty about that. They don't want to see you giving away their stuff for free. Because after all, you're selling it on their platform and someone can just go over to your website and just get the stuff for free. They're a little, and it's understandable. So in most instances, they're going to move you to draft. And they're also going to ask you to prove your rights, right? Do you have the copyright for that material? Now, if you've got a copyright registered, it's going to make life easy because then all you got to do is respond, hey, here's my copyright. We're good to go. The other way is this. If you have just a general copyright, you're going to need to respond from a business-like email. I recommend having a good professional signature. And last but not least, uploading the document that you originally wrote your book from. So that way there's a timestamp and you can even snap a shot of that and send that to them. I can't tell you how many times people have reached out to me through email or YouTube where they're just kind of like, hey, they're asking me to prove my rights. What do I do? Prove your rights. Prove to them that you wrote that content. Because if you did, great. Problem is, though, if it's a blog and that's your proof, guess what they're going to do? They're going to go, don't publish that. So I would recommend if you have something on a blog of some sort, or maybe you have it for free somewhere else, you may want to delist it there because they get salty about it. Reason number 5, ISBN issues. This one's an interesting one, and not too many people are bringing light to this unless you are getting your own ISBNs. So KDP will equip you with an international standard book number. It's a way to identify your title on the marketplace wherever you are in the world. They will give it to you for free. But therein lies the problem is, just because it's free doesn't necessarily mean it's the best option in the world, because obviously Amazon owns the imprint and it starts to limit your distribution, and you can't use those ISBNs elsewhere. So let's say you're like, you know what? I'm going to get my own ISBN. There's no exclusivity issue here. There really isn't. It just appears to be a little bit of a, quote, I'm going to say in quotes, jealousy issue. Almost like that jealous boyfriend. Like, how dare you publish on somebody else's platform with your own ISBN? It's really weird. If you've printed elsewhere with the same ISBN and KDP is the second to know about it, they're going to push back. They're going to go, this has been listed somewhere else. We don't want it. It's so weird. But if you lead with Kindle Direct Publishing and you go in there and use your ISBN and then distribute elsewhere like Ingram, Spark, Lulu, so on and so forth, then you're going to probably be just fine. So I would recommend print to KDP first, then continue elsewhere. Now, there have been issues. There's 2 of them. One of them includes this. Let's just say, for instance, you accidentally forget and you're like, oh my gosh, I published KDP second. You're going to need to reach out to their team and explain the extenuating circumstances. There's also a second issue that might be happening here, in that by distributing to other platforms via expanded distribution or Ingram Spark, you won't get it. So for instance, if you're using KDP and you've ticked off expanded distribution, this means Ingram Content Group fulfills your print orders through various avenues. We're talking like thousands of different distributors. And one of those distributors happens to be Barnes & Noble Press. Haha. You're probably going like, oh, wow, that's crazy. Yeah, it is kind of crazy, because the problem is when you go and publish to that, Barnes & Noble's going to go, wait, hang on a second. No, you've already published this. You did it somewhere else, and it might be through KDP. So you could see the ISBN thing is not an unusual thing. You just got to make sure, first of all, treat Amazon first. They like to be done first. And the next thing is going to be that when you distribute, be aware of the different avenues that you're distributing to. So when you go, say, through Ingram Spark and Lulu, Ingram Spark and Lulu will feed off over into Amazon, but they also feed off to Barnes & Noble. And at that point, Barnes & Noble goes, we've had enough. No need to go ahead and put duplicate publishings on here. We're not going to take it. Something to think about. I'm going to give you a final tip when it comes to publishing wide here. I want to take a moment here to say a very special thanks to you, the listener, the viewer, the folks that have been with me for the past, going on 5.5 years. It's crazy to think about that. If you have not already subscribed to my YouTube channel for the podcast, come on over to dalelinks.com/YouTube podcast and become part of the first 2,000 subscribers, part of the 2K sub club. Mean the world to me that you would do that. And we actually are broadcasting these podcasts every Monday at 12:15 p.m. Eastern Daytime. We open up with a little bit of news. I'll do a little bit of jib jab. We do the podcast. We do some more jib jab. It's a great time to hang out. And then on Fridays, temporarily, we're going to be answering live comments, questions, and concerns every Friday. You won't be able to catch that unless you subscribe over to dalelinks.com/YouTube podcast. My final tip when it comes to publishing wide. Publish wide if you aren't getting a true return from KDP Select. Don't just rely on the padded ABSR. ABSR being Amazon bestseller rank. Sure, getting checked out will increase your ABSR, but in some instances, if it's not leading to more sales and all you're getting rewarded with is, say, 5 cents per day, you might want to go wide. It's just crazy, crazy idea. Because here's the thing. Will you make less money going wide? Well, 5 cents per day on your Kindle pages read seems to me like selling it might be a better option. So removing that option. Don't buy into the hype that KDP Select is for everybody. In fact, it's for less people than there are that people need it. There's some people that need it, some people that don't. And quite a few people don't need KDP Select. Publish wide if you want to reach a wider audience. Yep, Amazon isn't the only game in town. In fact, some people do not buy from Amazon. So this means that you're missing a big chunk of readers and other platforms because you're just pigeonholing yourself into being the Amazon KDP published author. Don't be that. You can reach more readers this way. Publish wide if you want to increase your sales potential. Sales, with the exception of free, always trump page reads. Because page reads through KDP Select is less than half of a cent per page read. You are not going to make a substantial living if you're getting 100 page reads per day or 1,000 page reads per day. You're going to need to get hundreds of thousands of page reads before you see a true return. And think about all the readers that are flipping through this. That's one less sale, one less sale, one less sale, and it keeps stacking up. What happens when your book starts to drop off the cliff and you lose those page reads? This is where you're going to want to consider publishing wide. And then print books. Print books, it's an interesting situation. Just humor KDP for right now and treat them with the first dibs. They need to get the first scoop into your scalloped potato and hams. They did hams. I'm not sure why I said plural, but it's whatever. They want to be the first one to that. Hey, folks, as we start to wrap up today, I want to, of course, remind you to subscribe or follow me on your preferred podcasting platform and leave a review or a comment. And it just so happens that good longtime friend and supporter here of the channel, Michael Heister, said this: I had not caught your work here for a few months, but I like where you're taking things. I, for one, wasn't up on the specific of what you discussed about Kindle Direct. Interesting the ways people game their system. This was from the past podcast called KDP Taking Out the Trash. That was an interesting and very insightful episode, hopefully for you. Speaking of interesting, insightful, hopefully you found today's insightful as well. It gives you some food for thought, and I really truly believe every author should consider going wide with their books in some capacity. Hey, I'm going to go ahead and start to wrap things up. Thank you so much for tuning in, and till next week, this has been Self-Publishing with Dale, and I will chat with you then.